ever feel like, I don't know, like there's something more to life, deeper than what we see every day?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
we're all connected to something bigger.
Hmm.
Well, get ready to explore that feeling because today we're diving into Living Your Life in Love as a Visible Spirit
Oh, I like that.
by Dr. Roy E. Richmond.
Okay.
And we're focusing on excerpts from his book,
Okay.
and especially his really unique perspective on Romans 14.
Okay.
And let me tell you, this guy, Richmond, he has this way of taking these ancient words, these ancient ideas, and
Right.
making them feel so relevant to like our everyday
Yeah,
lives.
he does. He does. He's really good at that, taking these big concepts and distilling them so we
Yes,
can actually apply them.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he starts with this idea that we aren't just physical beings, just going through the motions,
Right, right.
but that we are, and this is a quote, visible spirits.
Yeah, love that.
He argues that this spiritual core, this essence we all have, it's naturally connected to something divine, to a divine source. And get this, it's the same source for everyone.
It's the same source for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's a really key point.
Okay, hold on, stop right there. This is what I love about Richmond. He takes these big, kind of intimidating spiritual concepts
Yeah, I can.
and
Yeah.
makes them so relatable. So, okay, we're all visible spirits.
Yeah.
We're all connected to the same source. What does that actually mean for our lives, like day to day?
Well, that's where his look at Romans 14 gets super interesting. He points to Romans 14.10,
Okay.
and it says, "We all stand in Father's judgment." Now, before you think like, oh my gosh, judgment, that sounds scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Richmond, he digs a little deeper.
Okay.
He says, it's really about recognizing that because we're connected to the divine, it puts us all on the same level.
Okay.
Like, no one's inherently better than anyone else, in the grand scheme of things.
Whoa, that's a powerful way to look at it, especially in a world where it's like everyone is judging everyone else all the time.
Yeah, constantly comparing.
So, if we really try to embrace this idea, this idea that we're all equally connected,
Right.
how does that change how we approach, well, I mean, everything?
Everything. Richmond would say it boils down to love. And I'm not just talking about romantic love,
Okay.
but like this deep, all-encompassing
Hmm.
love for ourselves and others. That comes from recognizing that divine spark, within everyone.
This is giving me chills. So instead of getting caught up in comparisons,
Oh, yeah.
judgments, Richmond's saying that seeing that spark, that same spark in everyone,
Mhm.
that should inspire a totally different way of being in the world.
Absolutely. He even uses this, well, it's a metaphor of spiritual food
Okay.
to illustrate how we can cultivate that way of being.
Okay, now you have to tell me more about the spiritual food because something tells me this is about more than what we eat for lunch.
You're right. Yeah. Richmond uses food to represent thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
the ones we kind of dwell on,
Okay.
and the beliefs we hold, even the actions we take. He even uses an example from Romans 14.20, where Paul talks about not letting someone else's food choices dissolve the love of Father in you towards others.
Wait, so Paul is talking about more than just like what we eat.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Richmond says that on a deeper level, Paul's urging us to examine what we're consuming mentally and spiritually.
Oh, wow.
Are we constantly feeding ourselves negativity, judgment, gossip?
Right, right.
Or are we like nourishing our souls with love, truth, connection to something bigger?
This is blowing my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like we could be chasing all the latest trends, trying to achieve all these things.
All that external stuff.
But if we aren't paying attention to what we're feeding our inner selves,
Right.
it's all for nothing. Richmond's saying real fulfillment, true fulfillment, it comes from a totally different source.
Yes, exactly. He says that going after those fleeting pleasures, seeking validation from, the outside world, is like eating junk food.
Oh, I like that.
It might feel good in the moment,
Right.
but it's not really nourishing us,
Yeah.
on a deeper level.
That is such a good analogy. This whole spiritual food idea, it's so relatable. I know I've definitely been guilty of looking for validation in all the wrong places.
Yes, I think we all have.
It's like we're all searching for that fulfillment, but we're looking in all the wrong places.
And when we do that, when we search for that outside validation, it can really, chip away at our confidence.
It really does.
But Richmond presents this radical idea. What if true, unshakable confidence? What if it doesn't come from achievements or what other people think?
Okay, I'm listening.
What if it comes from recognizing that connection to something bigger than ourselves? that connection to the divine.
Oh, I like that. So instead of seeking that external validation, we
Yeah.
can tap into that knowing that's already there, that we're connected to something so much greater than ourselves.
Right.
I love that.
It's a game changer because when we know, deep down who we are, that we are these spiritual beings connected to this infinite source of love, this infinite source of wisdom,
Yeah.
it allows us to move through the world with a totally different kind of confidence,
Yes.
a confidence that can't be touched by, all those external things.
That's the kind of confidence I think we all crave. But how do we tap into that?
Well, Richmond points to Paul
Okay.
and his transformation. He's a powerful example of this.
Right, because Paul, he was living a completely different life before his spiritual awakening.
Yeah, he was a strict Pharisee,
Yeah.
deeply rooted in religious law.
It's like he was living in a totally different reality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how did he go from all those rigid rules,
Mm.
to embodying this radical love, this radical compassion? That's what we'll unpack after the break.
Okay, so Paul's journey, from rule-following Pharisee to this, like, radiant advocate for love and compassion.
Right.
It feels like a big change. What sparked that kind of transformation?
Well, Richmond seems to think it was a change in how Paul saw things.
Okay.
Like he let go of those old rigid beliefs to understand, something deeper about the divine.
Oh, I see.
It's like he put down a rule book and picked up like this roadmap to inner truth.
And that roadmap led him straight to love. I love it. But I'm curious, did Richmond ever mention, like, any wrong turns we could make on that journey? I mean,
Yeah.
Things that might stop us from having our own aha moments?
Oh, he totally did.
Oh, okay.
He warned against things that he called stumbling blocks
Unblind blocks, okay.
on our spiritual paths.
Interesting.
And get this, he thought that, like, the biggest stumbling block for other people
Yeah.
was judging them.
Whoa, really? So even if we mean well, trying to, like, force our beliefs on other people could actually hurt their spiritual growth.
That's exactly what Richmond says.
Wow.
In fact, he even brings up Romans 14 again.
Okay.
He points to the part that says, "Do not tread about in your life around them, practicing your liberty with a pious attitude."
Okay, I'm following.
Basically, he's saying, hey, be careful how your actions and your words affect the people around you,
Right.
even if you think you've got it all figured out.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah,
It's so easy to get caught up in thinking our way is the right way.
right.
But Richmond's calling for, like, this open-hearted approach.
Yeah.
It's about giving people space to, like, find their own way to the divine.
Exactly. And that even goes for how we judge ourselves, too.
That's a good point.
Think about a time when you were really hard on yourself,
Yeah.
because you didn't live up to some standard.
Totally.
Did it make you feel closer to that inner spark or further away?
Oh, 1,000,000% further away.
Right.
It's like that self-judgment just creates all this noise and it drowns out any wisdom we might have inside.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And Richmond would say, like, those times when we doubt ourselves, when we look for validation from outside sources,
Yeah.
those are signs that we've lost our connection to the divine.
So how do we reconnect then? How do we quiet that self-doubt and listen to that inner wisdom?
Remember that spiritual food idea we talked about before?
Yeah, with the thoughts and the beliefs and all that.
Right. Richmond says we need to be way more careful about what we're feeding our minds and hearts.
So instead of constantly comparing ourselves, competing, being negative,
Yeah.
we need to focus on things that nourish our souls.
You got it. Be mindful of the information you take in,
Okay.
the people you spend time with, even just the thoughts you let into your head.
That's a lot.
It is, but it's powerful stuff.
Mm.
Richmond would ask, is this input nourishing my spirit or depleting it?
It's like choosing to focus on the good stuff.
Yeah.
The things that lift us up and remind us that we're worthy.
Mm.
Things like love, gratitude, compassion. That's the real soul food.
Exactly. And when we make a point of nourishing ourselves with those positive, life-affirming truths, it strengthens our connection to the divine. And we can move through the world with more purpose, more confidence.
It's like we become living, breathing examples of the love and wisdom we're taking in. But how do we take that inner change
Yeah.
and, like, let it shine outward? How do we actually become those visible spirits Richmond talks about?
Now, that is a great question.
Right?
And it gets right to the heart of Richmond's message. It's about knowing that our energy, our actions, even just our presence, can inspire and uplift the people around us.
Okay, I like where this is going.
But before we get into that, let's really take a second to understand this whole becoming a visible spirit thing.
Okay, I'm ready. What does it actually mean, to be a visible spirit in the world?
Okay.
So becoming visible spirits, it sounds kind of, I don't know, like out there a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it's less about like glowing orbs and more about our everyday lives, right?
Exactly. It's about remembering that we're not just physical, we're spiritual beings having these physical experiences.
Okay.
And that spiritual energy, that light Richmond talks about, we're meant to share it.
Oh, I like that. So less about special effects, more about letting our inner light shine through in how we like interact with everyone.
Exactly. It's about bringing that love, that compassion, that wisdom we've been working on and bringing it into everything we do.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I think some people might be wondering, like, where do we even begin? How do we go from feeding our own souls to like actually making a difference out there in the world?
Well, Richmond says it starts with recognizing how powerful our energy is.
Okay.
He says anything that holds us back or anything that causes other people to stumble, it's not expedient.
Not expedient.
In other words, it's not helping us grow.
Right.
And it's not helping the people around us grow either.
So it sounds like he's saying we need to take a hard look at any negativity,
Yes.
any bad habits we might be holding on to.
Exactly. It's about asking ourselves, are we holding on to grudges? Are we gossiping, being negative, judging others for their choices?
Right.
All those things, they create separation,
Yeah.
discord, they dim our light, and they might even block other people from shining theirs.
That's such a powerful image. Like we can choose to add to the light in the world, or we can, just add to the darkness.
Exactly.
So how do we make sure we're, on the side of the light?
Remember how we were talking about that radical love that Paul embodied after his, transformation?
Yeah, yeah.
Richmond believed the kind of love is key.
Okay.
When we act out of love, when we approach people with understanding and compassion, that's when we become a force for good in the world.
So it's not just about avoiding the negative stuff.
Right.
It's about actively choosing love all the time.
Yes. It's a challenge, for sure.
It sounds really hard, but also amazing.
It is. But remember, and Richmond reminds us of this, we're not alone in this.
Yeah, that's right.
We have that divine spark within us,
Right.
that connection to an endless source of love and wisdom.
It's true. It's like we already have everything we need inside of us.
Yes. And the more we strengthen that connection, the brighter our light shines, and it inspires other people to do the same.
It's like a ripple effect. That's beautiful.
It is. And that's what Richmond is getting at in living your life in love as a visible spirit.
It's a call to action, isn't it?
Yeah. It's an invitation to really be who we are, to live every day as an expression of that divine love that connects us all.
Wow, I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive here, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling hopeful. Like the world can feel heavy sometimes,
Definitely.
but we get to choose love.
We do.
We get to shine our light and make a difference, even if it's just in small ways.
That's what it's all about.
It really is. So until next time, keep asking those big questions, keep searching for those soul-nourishing truths, and most importantly, keep letting your light shine.